Hey everyone, welcome to the shop. My name's Andy. I'll be your mechanic, and today I'm actually going to show you how to restore your headlights permanently. Let's go fix it. Now, in order to fix anything, we must understand what went wrong in the first place, how it was designed, and how we can fix it. Now, of all the benefits that plastic headlight housings bring to the table, they do have one Achilles heel, is that they're very susceptible to the sun's harmful UV rays. Now, if you see this yellow haziness, it's actually oxidization caused by the UV rays, and there are products out there that can take it off temporarily. However, if you don't put a UV protective barrier back on, it's actually just going to happen again and you're wasting your money. We don't like that. So we need to do a few things. First, we got to remove this entire oxide layer. Second, we have to add our own layer that will not only seal it up from the elements, but also protect it from the sun. Let me show you what I got. Here are the things we're going to need. We're going to need sandpaper and a clear coat that has a UV protective additive. I've chosen Duplicolor's Perfect Match Protective Clear Coat Finish, and I've chosen 150, 250, and 400 grit sandpapers. Let's get started. My jam, guys. What other country you know they play everyone's favorite jam on the dot every day? Now, in the case of this Volvo here, removing the actual headlight assembly is extremely simple. All you do is you find these two tangs and you pull them out. From there, your headlight assembly will actually pull out, and that's where you undo your connectors. Now, the way you take out these connectors is very simple. There's 3 twist off ones, and then there's one where you have to squeeze a clip in order to get it off. It's very easy. There's a little ridged thumb piece right there, and you pull it straight out. With these little ones, they actually twist. Lefty loosey, righty tighty, basic stuff. Now that we're free from the bulbs and connectors, we are ready to go take it into a controlled environment. Let's go. Now first, we gotta remove anything that's gonna get in the way of us putting on a protective layer, and that means this rubber trim here. So all we do is we peel it back, and it'll separate from the housing. First, we're gonna wash it off. Get all the dirt, nasty stuff off. Take extra care to not get water inside the headlight housing. The way you do that is just make sure you don't tip it upside down while water's running on it. All right, now that it's nice and clean of any contaminants, we're ready to wet sand. We're gonna sand with our 150 grit sandpaper, and you're gonna be sanding like mad. Now, while you're sanding with your sandpaper, you're actually gonna see a lot of like plasticky schmoo, and if it's yellow, that means you're actually doing what you need to. You're going to be sanding until you can get down to where it has no more color. Say it's like a frosty, hazy, but it doesn't have color. Now, once your entire assembly has been sanded with your 150 grit, we need to go ahead and rinse it off again. Now that we're rinsed off, we can actually inspect our work, look for any yellowing of the lens. If you do have yellowing, just sand over again until it becomes clear, like this. And if you're clear like this, then you're ready to move forward to the next grade of sandpaper. Now, the reason why we use gradients of sandpaper is to give the paint something to adhere to. If it was a completely smooth surface, it would have trouble adhering, and you'd have trouble getting a nice layer. And then eventually you'll just peel off, and then you're back at square one, watching my video again. Now, I just got done with my 250 grit sandpaper, my next gradient. And you'll notice actually that whatever comes off is actually white now. It's not yellow. And that means we're actually doing the right thing. Let's go rinse it off again. All right, now that we're all rinsed off again, we could start our 400 grit sandpaper. And you're doing this for a bit. Now take note, with the higher gradient sandpapers, you don't actually have to do that much sanding per se. The 150 grit was purely just to take off that oxide layer. The higher grades are to refinish the surface for paint. Let's go rinse it off. All right. Now we're on to our final stage of sandpaper, 1000 grit. And all you're trying to do is prep for paint. So you don't really have to do this long, if at all, because the paint will actually fill in these little microscopic scratches. Now, with 1000 grit sandpaper, you're actually going to restore a degree of clarity back to your headlight lenses. All this means to us is it's time to rinse off, dry off, and get ready to paint. Let's go do it. Alrighty, now that we're all rinsed off, we need to dry off. And it's best to do this with shop air, reason being, there's not any like lint fuzzies that could actually adhere to your headlight lens as you paint over. That would cause an imperfection. However, since we're all broke AF at the moment with this whole Corona stuff, we're gonna do it with a roll of blue shop towels. Now that we're all dry, we're ready to paint. Let's find an area. Now, in order to do this properly, we're gonna have to keep in mind a few things. First, keep it clean. Second, we're actually gonna do a few layers. So the first 2 layers we're gonna do are gonna be very light passes. After they dry for 10 minutes each, we're gonna do a final 3rd layer. It's gonna be a heavier pass, and that's gonna leave a really good finish. So you might have to get some dry runs in. Just pretend you're pushing the button while you're off, and then get used to the speed. For our heavier layer, you're going to slowly drag it along the entire lens. So now that you know how, let's get started. Now that we've been shaking the can vigorously for a bit, we're gonna clear the nozzle. That's gonna take off any little crusties from the last time you used this. And then we're going to, again, push the button off whatever you're spraying and then drag it along slowly, like this. And just like that, you have your first layer. Time for a smoke. Oh, and before we forget, set a timer for 10 minutes. This is gonna allow the headlight to dry, and it'll get it prepped for the next layer we're gonna do, which is another light layer. Be back in a second. Alrighty, about 10 minutes has passed. So we are about to apply our second clear coat. Again, spray a little to get all the crusties off the nozzle, and then here we go. And then another 10 minutes to dry. Alrighty guys, so this is our last layer. Again, we're gonna be adding a little bit heavier of a layer, and the way we do that is by going slower with our movements. We're still gonna maintain that 50% overlap, but this is gonna give us a thicker layer. Alrighty, let's let her dry for 24 hours and we're gonna reinstall her in the car. Now that everything's dry, we're able to install it back in the vehicle. All it is, connect your connectors, like your main one, right here, and then we put in the bulbs on the bottom. Easy, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, you just stuff them in and then turn to the right until it locks into place. So, all we do, find a proper connector, take that, put it in orientation, it went out, and then we take all these little bulbs, stuff them in their socket, and then you turn to the right until they lock into place. And now, once all your connectors and light bulbs are in their place, you gently slide it back in, being careful not to pinch any of the wires you just messed with. Now there's little holes for it to go into, and then all you do, you take your little brackets and then stuff them back where they belong. And would you look at that? Really updates the look of a car when your headlights aren't yellow and hazy. Alrighty guys, that's it. Bit of a time-consuming process, but it's super simple and super easy. What we've done today is we removed that oxide layer caused by the sun and we replaced it with a protective finish with a UV protectant additive in it. If you like this video, just stay tuned for more repair videos in the future. And again, I'm Andy and I'm your mechanic. You have a good night.